Hello, yogis. My name is Pearl, and this is the beginning of our Yin Yoga Chakra series at Pearl.Yoga. And I am excited to begin this series off. And the first chakra that we're going to work with is the Root Chakra. So in Sanskrit, it's Muladhara, and it's all about grounding, rooting down, really settling the body. And it's perfect to begin our Yin Yoga series. If you have props available, that's great. A couple of blocks, blanket, bolster, some pillows will do fine. And if you don't have any props, that's also okay. We can modify so that you can enjoy the practice no matter what. We're going to layer in some mantras and some sacred sound into the practice. You're welcome to add anything into this practice that resonates with you a little bit more, and feel free to modify the practice as you will. So if something is a little too easy or too challenging, feel free to adjust it to suit whatever the body needs. But always in the practice of yin with a sense of surrendering and grounding to go along with it. So let's begin by first coming into a comfortable seat and actually connecting into this root chakra space, which is the very base of the spine. Maybe even taking the hands, pushing or pulling rather the glutes out of the way so that the sit bones can be firmly planted into the mat. Welcome to sit on top of a blanket if that eases the posture for you. And I invite you to close the eyes and just bring the awareness internal for a moment. Maybe taking a couple of gentle open mouth exhalations just to settle into the body, give the signal to the body that it's okay to relax, it's okay to soften. And tuning your attention to this space at the very bottom of the spine and visualizing circular energy moving in this space. As the circular energy begins to form, connecting with it a red glow. Let the breath help circulate this energy, really drawing the attention and intention to the space. And begin elongating the exhale just a little bit more than you normally would. So more complete exhalations. Now let's keep that visualization of the root chakra, this wheel of energy going. And let's add in a mudra here, bringing the pointer finger and the thumbs to connect. And the other three fingers are extended but relaxed. And we'll begin our chant. So the corresponding chant with this chakra is LAM, L-A-M. So I invite you to do it along with me and elongate the chant for as long as the breath can sustain it. So let's take a cleansing breath to begin. So a slow breath in through the nose and an open mouth exhale. And take a deep breath in. We'll chant to LAM. 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 Yeah, let the vibration of the mantra settle into the body for a moment. And then let's begin to open up through the eyes, release the mudra from the hands, and begin to make our way into our first held posture. So let's begin to come into tabletop position onto the hands and knees. And let's warm up through the rest of the spine for a moment before we settle into some stillness. So a couple of cat-cows. With the inhale, just gently lift the tailbone, the gaze up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, rounding it out, pressing the ground away from you, tucking chin to chest. Taking a couple more, following the breath. When you feel complete, let's prepare for our child's pose. Do you happen to have a blanket? It's nice to incorporate a little extra cushion for the knees, but again, it's not absolutely necessary. Bring the knees wide, big toes touching, and slowly walk the hands forward to sink the chest down towards the ground. Now, if coming all the way towards the ground is a little too much for you, feel free to rest up onto the forearms a bit, give the body a chance to settle. If it feels really good and easy to settle into stillness, extend the arms, lower the chest, and the forehead comes down to the mat. Now, as you're here, I invite you to repeat the mantra of I am grounded to yourself quietly. It can be especially helpful when the mind starts to wander. Let the mantra help anchor you back into the moment. We'll settle here for a couple of minutes. And as we begin to approach the end of this posture, let's gently deepen the breath. And then on an inhalation, let's begin to walk the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees back underneath the hips, coming back into our tabletop position. Take a moment to arrive in tabletop position. No need to rush from one posture to the next. And then widen the hands a bit. Bring the knees slightly closer together. And just creating a bit of hip circles here. So hips to the side, forward, to the other side, back towards the heels. Just getting a little bit more open in the hips before we go on to the next posture. Make sure to go in both directions as well. And slowly return back into tabletop position. When you're ready, extend the left leg straight back behind. And on an exhale, slowly begin to bring the left foot in between the hands. Now this is where blocks would be really helpful, or really anything as a support. It can be books, it can be something solid like a chair if you have one and you need a lot of support. But blocks placed into the inside of the foot at any height, maybe even pillows if you need just minimal support. And we're sinking down into a bit of a lunge, or in yin we call this dragon pose. So feel free to stay a little bit more elevated, maybe not so chest heavy towards the ground if you need a little time to settle into the posture. But if you're feeling really open in the hip space, feel free to lower your support, lower the chest, lower everything a little closer towards the earth. Now, since this is our root chakra practice, I encourage you to become as close to the earth as you can without straining the body too much. So find a position that works, finding a nice balance between sensation and ease here. And the neck can remain neutral. If it feels okay for the head and neck, you can kind of let the head be heavy. And I'll encourage you to close the eyes if it feels good to do so. Part of our yin practice is this internal perspective in stillness. So the more that we can take away our visual perception and dive a little bit more inward without stimulation, the more connected we can be with ourselves. So at any point in our practice, feel free to go inward, observe the landscape, and maintaining a smooth rhythmic breath here. In this posture, I'll offer the mantra of I am safe. So repeating that mantra to yourself 3 times. And as we begin to approach the end, a slightly deeper breath, maybe some off the mouth exhales if you're feeling the itch to come out already. And then as you're ready, let's begin to remove any props that we might be using and place the hands into the mat. And then slowly extending the left leg up and back behind us. Draw some big knee circles. Give it a good release out of that hip space here. Make sure to go in both directions. And then settle right back down into tabletop position. Take a moment to pause. Find as neutral and as balanced of a tabletop as you can for the moment. And with an inhale, extend the right heel straight back behind. And at the exhale, I'm placing the right foot in between the hands at the top of the mat. I have a sticker on my foot here. Yep. You can walk the foot out a little bit wider here, placing hands or blocks into the inside of the foot. And I know I didn't mention it last time, but you're welcome to place the hands on top of the knee and stay even more upright. Of course, with the goal of being grounded here, you're welcome to lower chest, lower head, as close down to the ground as you can. And it sometimes takes a little bit to find that Goldilocks position, not too much, not too little. So if stillness doesn't appear right away, that's okay. You can't force the body to do something it does not want to do. So give yourself some grace if you're finding it a little bit more challenging than you would like it to be. And something to help ease into that is coming back into our mantra for this pose, which is I am safe. And last couple deeper rounds of breath here. Let's take our time to slowly come out of the posture. So placing hands back to the floor and extending the right leg up and back behind. Draw some big knee circles, give the ankle a couple of circles. When you're complete with that, slowly lower the knee back down to the mat. Just find that neutral tabletop position here. It should feel relatively effortless in that neutrality when it's balanced. A couple breaths, going back to our visualization of the root chakra. And then let's begin to prepare for our butterfly position here. So I'll encourage you to use a blanket underneath the hips and maybe potentially adding a bolster underneath. I'm going to face forward here so you can see me a little bit better. Now, sitting on top of something such as a bolster or a blanket that's folded up or some pillows is a great way to elevate the hips off the ground. So sometimes we feel really rounded in the low back, so you're sitting a little bit more like this rather than like this to begin out with. So if that's you, if you're feeling really rounded in the low back, then that's your cue to sit up a little bit taller. Place a block, anything underneath you to help get the spine into a little bit better alignment to begin with. In conjunction with that, if you happen to have some blocks, place them underneath the knees to help support too much external rotation if that's happening for you. If you feel like my knees feel like they're going to really fall into some space that I'm not quite ready to go to, then blocks underneath here, even at a bit of an angle closer to the thighs, is a great way to help settle into the posture. Now, if you don't really need/want any of that, feel free to let the knees open up as much as they will allow for the moment. And we'll make a diamond shape with the legs. So rather than having the heels very close into the groin for your more traditional butterfly position, I'm going to have a little bit of separation from the heels and the groin. And we'll start with the posture. Sitting up nice and tall is just to kind of see where our spine is at. So feel free to take a couple rounds of breath here just to settle into an upright position, see what tension exists first. And I invite you to stay here if it feels like it's a perfect amount of tension for you. It's not too much, not too little. If you're feeling like you can take on more sensation, then I'll encourage you to bring your heart further forward in space. And then let the head be heavy down towards the ground. Maybe the head really comes down towards the feet. Maybe there's quite a bit of heaviness there. Maybe the hands are placed out in front of us to support the spine right where it is. And again, blocks are helpful support underneath the hands, underneath the forearms. And you also have the option to use your blocks to support the head. So sometimes placing a block in between the feet and supporting your head like so is a nice way to make sure that there's not too much tension in the neck. But I could go on and on about how much support in different ways we can find in this position, but this is not that long of a video. So let's find something that works. So head can be heavy. If you're finding too much tension at any point, just go right back to our starting position, which is just seated upright, and you can remain there. Once you've settled into your posture, I'll invite you to close the eyes, really allow that head to be heavy, and start breathing into the back body. So slow, mindful breath there. Our mantra for this posture is, I am supported. So repeating that mantra to yourself 3 times, settling it into the body, the mind, the heart.
Yeah, just checking in with the edges. See if there's any space that you can soften a little bit more. Maybe it's the jaw or the shoulders. Yeah, let's gently deepen the breath as we approach the end. And feel free to let the head remain heavy as you slowly start to sit back up here. The head can be the last thing that comes up out of the posture. Once you're upright, take a moment, a couple breaths just to settle into the verticality of the spine. Okay. You're welcome to remove any props out of the way. Feel free to use your hands to help bring the knees a little closer together as you place the soles of the feet down into the mat. Hands are placed behind you for support, and give a little windshield wiper of the shin side to side. Give a little extra release. Yeah. When you feel complete with that, let's begin to come a little bit more long ways on the mat if you're sideways like I am, and into a supportive caterpillar pose. So you're still welcome to keep any props below you that you have to help support elevated hips. In fact, I'm gonna fold my blanket up a little bit more just because I like the extra cushion. And I'm gonna give you several options here. So number one, which is my favorite one, is knees bent and wrapping the arms behind the legs, pulling the torso pretty close to the thighs. Now you can stay right here. No need to go any further. This is root completely connected to the earth, soles of the feet completely connected to the earth, and getting a little bit of length along the back body. So stay here. This is feeling really supported, really grounded, really safe for you. And also for some of us, we would like a little bit more. So option to remain with the bind and maybe extend the legs a little bit more, maybe fully extend the legs, really bring torso over the thighs and maintain that bind. This can of course be done sans bind. You can always bring the heart a little further forward in space. Maybe hold on to the shins, ankles, feet. Just be mindful not to forcefully hold yourself in position. So ideally, if you let your hands go, you should be able to maintain the position just as you are. Some small caveats here. Not everybody has amazing low backs, so bending down or over the legs may not be quite as pleasurable. So you're welcome to even take a couple of blocks underneath the thighs, sit upright here. Maybe eventually you bring the chest forward in space, and that can be a really supportive way, especially if you're finding a little too much tension in the low back. So pick your poison, so to speak. I'm going to extend the legs a little bit more and fold into it a little bit more. Now, contrary to our yang practices, we can round the spine quite a bit here and let the head be heavy. So find something that works. We'll settle in for a couple of minutes. And let's pick a mantra of our own choosing here. So something having to do with security, groundedness, safety, something that really resonates with you, or maybe even repeating a mantra that we've already experienced yet today. But it's always nice to add that own personal touch into our own practice. Repeating that 3 times to yourself. As we've settled in, maybe stillness has arrived for you. Take a moment to acknowledge anything that's changed already. Soften the jaw, soften the spine, relax any gripping in the hands. Now we're coming up on the last 3 rounds of breath here. Yeah, just like before, feel free to let the head remain heavy. You can slowly take the spine into an upright position. Head can be the last thing that comes up out of the posture. Maybe a gentle roll of the shoulder blades back once you've lifted. Take a couple breaths once you have arrived in that upright position. Notice the release of energy from compression. Now let's take a reverse tabletop. Place the soles of the feet into the mat. Have the fingertips point towards the hips here, if you can. If it's too much on the wrist, point them in anyway. And just for a couple rounds of breath, we're not going to hold this. With an exhalation, lift the hips as high as you can. Maybe the head drops back to open up the throat. 2 deep rounds of breath here. With slowness and control, start to lower the hips down. Now, if you're sitting on top of a blanket like I am, let's remove that out of the equation. Maybe have it handy. If you happen to have a bolster, that'd be an amazing prop to use for the next posture that we're doing. If you don't happen to have a bolster, you can also roll up your mat in order to provide the support for this next supported back bend here. So you can use your block, you can use your bolster, you can roll up the blanket, you can roll up your mat if you really don't have any props outside of your mat. So feel free to get creative with how you do this if you don't have all available props. But let's make our way down onto the back. Take your time, take it slow. And then whatever prop you deem is appropriate for this, we'll place it underneath the hips, underneath the sacrum. And you're welcome to maintain bent knees. Also an option to extend the legs out in front of you, which will feel really nice after all that flexion at the hips. Also option to take a butterfly position with the legs, and my encouragement is to also open up through the chest in some way. So a T-shaped position with the arms, maybe Y shape or even I shapes are getting really long in the body here. Maybe shoulder blades come a little closer towards each other as well. Yes. I'm already feeling the juiciness of this. So find something that works. Of course, stillness is the goal, and however long it takes to get there. And whenever you have settled into the posture, I'll choose one more mantra here, which is I am rooted. Saying that mantra to yourself 3 times. And notice where your awareness is in this moment. Let's begin to gently deepen the breath as we approach the end here. And so if your legs are extended, let's place the soles of the feet into the mat, bending into the knees once more. And now really take your time releasing out of this posture. So depending upon what prop is below you, might be a little bit of a transition here. So take your time. First, kindly tuck the tailbone here. So before you lift a significant amount of weight off, tuck the tailbone so that you can safely begin to lift weight off your prop and then remove the prop out from underneath you. If it's your mat, just roll it back out and then take your time to settle the hips back down. And placing the hands onto the belly, taking a couple rounds of breath into the belly, allowing the spine to come into neutral, noticing any energy movement in the body after the release. Yeah, and then with your exhalation, hug the knees into the chest and take a little bit of a rock side to side. And then let's lower the feet back down to the mat. And my encouragement here is to keep the knees bent for this Shavasana. So, of course, you can take a traditional Shavasana with legs, arms extended on the ground. You're also welcome to support your knees with your bolster or blocks underneath. But to support the low back after all of this movement of the root, the hips, it's nice to give a little bit of support. If you happen to have a blanket and you want to add a little bit more weight into the body, maybe just take the blanket on top here so that you are even more grounded than you already achieved so far. And we'll settle into a resting posture to integrate the practice into the body. So minimal to no sensation here in this last posture. You're welcome to close the eyes just as long as you remain aware, connected to the practice, and we'll just take a couple of moments to just be in some nothingness here before we complete our practice. And feel free to also make this Shavasana a little bit longer than what I will set for us, especially if you're in your own home and you're available to rest for even longer. So for right now, let's take a couple of minutes, settle, release any efforts, really allow the body to melt into the earth. Let's begin to gently deepen the breath. And incorporating a little bit of movement back to the body, maybe some wrist circles. Maybe stretching limbs away from the torso, full body stretch. And take your time to begin to come up into a seated position. So you're welcome to roll over to the side, take a moment in fetal position. Maybe you want to rock and roll up right away. Choice is yours. Once you're upright, we'll end our practice in a similar fashion and as to how we began our practice, which is taking our mudra, pointer and thumb tip, index finger, thumb tip connect. The other 3 fingers extended but relaxed, sitting up tall, and we'll chant the mantra LAM, L-A-M, 3 more times. Now, if you don't have the availability to be a little bit louder, just hum along with me. So first, take a cleansing breath. And then we'll chant Talam, breathing in. Lam. Placing palms together, thumbs into the chest. Thank you so much for letting me guide you through this practice. I hope to see you in this next video for the chakra series. Thank you for joining.